So we're going to talk about leadership today, and this is partly inspired by your experience at the Aspiring Leaders Forum. So let's talk about that for a minute or two first.
Sure.
What is that?
So the Aspiring Leaders Forum is an annual event where we gather about 100 young aspiring leaders, people that are already doing some form of leadership in Wellington, and we do one day in Parliament, and the 3 other days we gather together in a hotel, and we have amazing time together. We have good, deep conversations in small groups, and we listen to amazing leaders. Kōrero. Yeah.
So what came out of these conversations this weekend?
Oh, there were so many things, but I was reading the feedback forms, as
Great.
you do.
Yeah.
And the biggest theme was the fact that these small groups, in between sessions, there's 9 hours of small group time, where these young leaders are encouraged to talk about how what they do today in leadership was informed by their story. So it takes a narrative approach. So obviously, sometimes it leads to some deep conversations about things that have happened in their lives, and lots of tissues, lots of deep, heartfelt conversations, and a lot of listening.
When I spoke to Tabs Huxford, who's part of our team here, was down there with you, she said how helpful she found it to understand people's stories and how that affects their leadership approaches, because some of them have been through situations that come to very different conclusions about what needs to be done. But because of that, you can get a distorted picture of the people who have maybe different solutions to the same problems, and these conversations help break that down.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think there are not many places in society where you're able to just come away from your daily affairs and come into a really almost artificial environment where these are strangers, and you go deep, like 0 to 100 within a few seconds, and it happens all the time. This is my 3rd year in being involved, and it's almost like 95% of the time, every small group gets real deep, real quick.
Wow.
And the cool thing is that I would say vulnerability is the superpower, right? The small group leader goes first. They set the tone, they set the sort of framework, they frame the discussion, and they go first and they share their story. And so if the leader goes too deep, then the next conversation will get very, very deep, and you might not recover from that. And then if you go deep enough and you think clearly as a leader, you set the example, and then the rest will kind of flow from there. And there were some incredible stories I personally heard from my small group where I had a first impression of someone, and then I was completely wrong.
Wow.
And the respect that gets built from that, and the love, the aroha that comes out of it is incredible.
So I think every parent listening to this would love to think of their child at one of these tables.
Yes.
And so let's deal with maybe one of the biggest myths to begin with. Some people are just born leaders, Wee-Yeong.
Yep. Well, I think that's the myth number 1.
Yeah.
There are specific things that you look at someone and go, oh, that's a leader, someone that can talk, someone that's confident, someone that's articulate. But I think it's just a caricature that society has built up, that's what leadership looks like. A lot of these young leaders that I spoke to during the weekend, they come into this conference quite with the imposter syndrome, because you have to be nominated to come. And so some of these people were nominated by their mentors, their parents, their mayor, and a lot of them, incredibly, they're already doing amazing things. They still don't think that they're a leader because they don't fit in this loud, boisterous personality. But then the cool thing is that they come away from this going, I'm a leader.
Yeah.
And so I think for the first step that I encourage people to, as parents, to do is not to box your young person in. Like an introvert, most introverts think that they're not leaders, but actually they are.
Let's talk about then myth number 2, because I think that relates very strongly, because all leaders are great talkers, Wee-Yeong. They love the limelight, they're center stage. That's what it means to be a good leader, right?
Well, interestingly, a lot of public speakers, some of the best public speakers and performers are actually introverts. And so I think that's sort of society looking at leadership in the wrong way. I think leadership is just the outcome of being able to influence others, right? So you can actually influence others without being loud. You can influence others as a servant leader, which is a key topic of our forum. It's not a Christian forum, but actually the underpinning thought there is servant leadership, and we know where that comes from. It's Jesus, our Lord. And so, we had people who are Muslims, atheists, Buddhists, Christians, all kinds, and everyone walks away going, wow, servant leadership is such a counter-cultural thing, right? And everyone loves it.
It's a remarkable thing, isn't it, when Christian principles show up in the wild like this? It's like people have discovered gravity for the first time. We'd be like, oh, it's been here the whole time.
Yes. I was reading a feedback, and this young lady said that she came into this forum, I guess in a position where she was searching for meaning in life, actually, and she went away thinking and knowing that actually the key thing that was missing in her life was faith.
Incredible.
And so now she's going to take steps to go explore what faith would suit her.
Then let's talk about, say, myth number 3, and that is simply that, well, leadership's not for me. I don't see myself as a leader. I'm not going to be a leader in my life.
I think that's okay. Not everyone needs to set out aiming to be a leader. Often the best leaders kind of fall into it, And I think my advice to people is find what you're passionate about. Find your why, because people that are clear about their why, they will unintentionally start leading. Because people that are clear about their why, they go about doing things that are clear, and then the other people that are unclear will just naturally gravitate towards that. And so I really believe that if people are clear about their why, that will be the first step toward leadership.
I've often made a distinction too between, say, organizational leadership and, say, life leadership, because even though I have no ambitions of being like a CEO or anything like that, however, I still know even within my family, there are people who are going to be looking to me to see how I live my life. So in some ways, leadership can't be avoided, but it's also something I'd hate people to disqualify themselves from, because as you've mentioned, if you've got a strong connection to something that matters a lot to you, and you live a life in alignment with that, you will lead and influence people for the good.
Absolutely. My wife is an incredible leader, and she would cringe at that, and she absolutely hates titles. But when I observe her in the spaces that she operates, people follow, and she is very clear about what she likes and what she dislikes. She's a creative, so she's very, very clear about colors and designs and likes and dislikes in terms of food and designs. And so interestingly, people that are unclear will just go with what she decides, and that's leadership to me.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I risk going longer than this than I should, but one last thought then too is that this idea of leadership, I think, can sometimes have connotations of being the one who tells people what to do. And people say, I don't want to be someone who tells everybody what to do, but you can be somebody who inspires, who encourages, who creates an environment. And I mean, for a lot of parents, that is parenting as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's the best way to lead, where you're actually doing a lot of that leading in unstructured environments, and your influence, when it comes to having to actually decide, people will follow naturally because they respect you.
Amazing. I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn your notifications on so you don't miss the next video.
We'll see you in the next one.